pantheistic view or like a deistic
How's
view.
that pantheistic, or how is that deistic to begin with? I mean,
well, if it's deistic, you're just saying that God just like started the world and just stepped back and he's not involving in anything.
I did not even say that for even 1 minute.
Well,
but okay.
Well, but I'm just saying. Look, I'm just saying that many people who are religious do take a theistic view, and it sounds like Benjamin.
That's why I specifically asked Benjamin.
Benjamin is just doing an internal critique of that view. If you have a different view than that, then
that's perfectly fine. I mean, Jason, come on, man. It's kind of like I've been like listening to you guys for a while as well. I mean, if you don't want to listen, opposite side, no problem. But my point here is that I've been trying to first even set the parameters to begin with. Because let's just say if someone comes to you and say that, okay, I am God, what are your parameters to judge whether that person is God or not?
I don't know what that question means. If somebody comes to me and say, I am God, what are the parameters that I would do to assess whether that entity is God? Mm-hmm. I think it's a nonsensical question. I mean, it just depends on what your definition of God is.
That's my question. Is that what is yours to begin with?
Well,
that's exactly what.
Look, I'm an atheist. I don't think that a God or gods exist. So my view is that, like any God, like the traditional view of a God who is an entity that created the universe, that is a thinking agent, that is a theistic view of the world, that has morals, and that the things that God does are all powerful, all knowing, all loving. He doesn't make mistakes. He everything that God does is good. That's my view of God.
So that's my question. So if someone comes to you, is there going to be any parameter that you're going to be able, all right, prove that you're all loving, or prove you're doing? Is there any parameters that you satisfy, and you'd be like, all right, yeah, I believe that you're a God?
No, they could just make an argument. I mean, there's arguments that you could make to justify the existence of God. But if you're asking, if somebody comes to me and I'm like, well, what kind of proof are they going to provide that they are a God? I just think it's kind of nonsensical. I don't even understand the question.
So okay, well, if you don't understand the question, I can.
Yeah, I don't.
Because here's the reason I'm saying is that, look, if you're an atheist, right, you don't believe in God. All right, so there needs to be either you're 100% convinced that, okay, I tried to look for these parameters and these parameters were not satisfied, therefore there is no God. All right, that's how and that's my question. If that person comes in, is there any particular parameters in your mind that, okay, if you satisfy these parameters, I will believe in you to be God? And if there's no parameters, then maybe you need to think about them.
Yeah, it's fine. Nobody else
can. Yeah.
This is like lowbrow.
Yeah, super lowbrow. Arslan, were you convinced that God exists somehow?
I'm convinced that God exists, actually.
By what?
So, based on like the fact that we all are created. That's
okay. Now you're begging the question right out of the gate.
Okay. So, can you repeat that?
Yeah, you're begging the question. You said the reason you were convinced that God exists is because we are created.
You say that.
Wow,
dude. So you're asking me like, okay, if someone comes to me and say, oh, okay, actually, you know what? If someone comes to me and say that I'm God, no matter what tricks he plays, no matter what he creates.
No one said that. No one said any of this shit. You're just making shit up now, dude.
So you were asking me this
question. Yeah, I asked you a simple question. What convinced you God exists? And right away you begged the question. You said, well, everything that's created, that's evidence. Yeah.
Yeah.
That just means that you're saying that you think things are created by a God. And that's what convinced you. That's all you said.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's just dumb. That's lowbrow.
Okay, so then that's the question I was earlier asking. What are the parameters that I should look
anything
for? Okay,
anything that God wants to do to convince me, because you're convinced by stuff that seems to be pretty low bar. Why don't you just admit that you want to believe in God, therefore you do? That's basically what you're saying.
Even from a probability perspective, it makes more sense that there's a creator than there's not a creator.
No, it doesn't.
What's the evidence for that?
So you're saying that anywhere...
Well, just give us the evidence.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. Then there's a simple evidence is that you need to bring anything that has been created by itself, or it didn't exist and it started existing by itself.
We're asking you for evidence. And then you just turned it around.
I'm telling you.
I'm asking. You say you believe in God.
I'm telling the evidence, right? I'm telling you about evidence, right?
What's the evidence?